Burnout is one of those very highly visible topics, especially right now. I think it's always a very important thing to consider, but especially right now, for so many individuals, people who happen to be in a particularly privileged condition or space. Myself, I admit, am one of these people, someone who has the luxury to work from their home since the pandemic has been going on. I recognize that not everyone is in that position. And even for those who are not in my kind of position, there's other types of burnout as well. So it's a very topical thing right now, but I think it's always important. And so I was curious about what actually is burnout. It can be seen a lot like just being very tired or fatigued, but I am not convinced that that's a reasonable or comprehensive way to think about it. When you're tired, you need to rest. When you're fatigued, you need to rest. Whether that looks like just being idle, getting food, sleeping, that's all that, for the most part, simple fatigue requires. Parts of you could be fatigued. Your muscles could be fatigued from a hard workout. They need to rest and restore. But it isn't necessarily true that burnout always looks like just being tired. It can be something that you do feel when you're burnt out, is tired. But I think there's more to it than that. I suspect that for each person, burnout looks very different. So I'm going to express the way burnout most recently has reared its head for me. I think the most obvious key ways I can identify a state of burnout is when I think or I imagine what I just did, what I just completed doing for the day, or what I am looking ahead to in the next day. And the mindset that I have is one of anxiousness or apprehension or please no, not again. That isn't necessarily true with just being tired. Often when we're tired and we've done something that we enjoy, we look forward with eagerness to the next time it happens. We just know that right now we're done. If you really enjoy running, you might want to run longer and further. But today you ran up to your maximum distance for a long run, and you might be looking forward to the next time you can do it. But today you're done. You're tired, but you aren't burnt out. It could look like a real negative impact to your emotional state. It could look like it has included components of anger or irritation. So much so that your relationships with others actually start to deteriorate. You start to use what these are negative emotions, and they become the standard by which you actually interact with the people that normally you would not want that to be the primary interaction. That's not just tiredness, although you can become irritable if you're tired. So these are complex components or ways to identify this complex state, but it isn't just being tired. It isn't just being fatigued. It isn't just being angry. It isn't just being any one thing. And like I said, for me, it tends to look like a state of dreading the next cycle of the activity that has me feeling burnt out. Now, here's another thing. Often, even if you can't identify exactly the set of feelings associated to a burnout, you can often find outlets or activities or interactions with certain people in certain settings that actually directly alleviate that feeling, at least for a time. So if you're fundamentally fatigued, typically that doesn't look like you suddenly getting up and jumping around and having energy just because something that really gets you hyped or feeling good. There have been plenty of times where sitting with a friend for a late night video gaming session is just what I need to not feel burnt out for the time. And I could have felt incredibly exhausted from my day doing the thing that has me feeling burnt out. But the minute I start into that activity, playing certain games, interacting with certain friends, my energy levels increase dramatically, and I could just keep going all night long. So it isn't just fatigue. It isn't just one thing. And there's clear associations to different types of things we do that make us feel better. Isn't it unfortunate, I think, also that one of the primary ways that we tend to blow off steam or get away from the thing that is causing us the feeling of burnout is through addictive or deteriorating behaviors, things that tend to actually break us down more over time, that in the moment we might actually feel like it's a release, but it becomes a habitual pattern of damaging us. Followed closely by going back and doing the thing that makes us feel burnt out. And then we find ourselves again saying, well, this activity, going out to this place, or having one too many drinks, or binging on food, or just complete one of these outlet activities that maybe doesn't fundamentally sustain us, now becomes the go-to thing. It doesn't even have to be a classic vice. It's just something that we've now made our ultimate release, our ultimate go-to to get away from it and blow off steam. So really, maybe there's other ways we can define it, but burnout is not an emotion. It's not even necessarily a complex combination of various emotions, although that can be true, but rather it's a conditioned response to something, in some cases, that we fundamentally don't want, that don't actually fit or resonate with who we are. And that's not to say that you should throw everything away, abandon it all, toss out the baby with bathwater, but perhaps it does require us to have some good, solid reflection on how, why, and what we're doing. The things, the activities, the work that cause us the sense of burnout. If we truly believe the thing that we're doing is good for us, but it's causing us burnout, then we have to find a way to reconcile what the good parts are, the things that invigorate and give us life, and how we're holding ourselves in a way that creates a feeling of dread, or who we're interacting with that causes us so much tension, that just thinking about interacting with that person again, or in this way again, is such a drain. And sometimes it's just that we've been doing it too long, too repetitively, in too short amount of time, and we just need to space it out. All of these things are configurable. I think the most important thing we can do for our own health, which then impacts the relationships we have with the people that we work with or the people we care about, in this case, is be really honest about just how much our own interpretations, expectations, and insecurities in relation to an activity make us feel this way. And to not blame it on tiredness and not use our anger as an excuse, but to actually reflect and consider that these are symptoms of a deeper issue, and they're likely ones we've been living with for a very long time.